call to order the regular board meeting of the Vallecitos Water District. Pledge of Allegiance. Glenn, our general manager, would you please do the honor?
Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Diane, could I have a roll call, please?
Director Olathorpe?
Here.
Director Evans?
Here.
Director Hernandez?
Here.
Director Sinella will be noted absent. Director Martin?
Present.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't believe we have any public comment at this time. Nope. So we're going to move right on to a presentation.
We move for I move to adopt the agenda.
Oh, thank you very
Second.
much. I always skip that. All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda adopted. Okay. Introduction, presentations. Andy Sells of the Aqua JPIA is here in person.
President Martin, we do have an introduction of a new employee.
That was coming after.
Oh, it was
Andy,
after?
I was told by Diane.
Okay, I apologize.
I listen to her.
I'm flexible. Me?
Yeah, you're up.
Well, thank you once again for allowing me this opportunity. I don't get a chance to deliver very many checks dimensionally this size, but figuratively not that very many of those checks there. As you can see, we have a check for your participation in the JPI program for $165,806
Very good.
So, yeah, that's one of my larger ones. I would tell you, how is it that this comes possible? Really, it's a couple things. The pool itself had a very good year in both the liability and workers' compensation programs. The 14-15 year, we're readjusting that year now that we have a better idea. The way the program works, we give a deposit premium. At the beginning of the year you give us, and then we wait 4 years to see how the claims develop and what our costs are, and then we go back and reevaluate. And so it happens for all of our member agencies, and as a result of that reevaluation, really they're the driving factors, almost $75,000 each in each one of those two programs, liability and property. But I'd have to say it's a little bit unusual for a district to get a size check, particularly you guys. For instance, we have what we call in the liability program an EMOD calculation, experience modifier, where we compare your losses to the average in the pool. And if your losses are better than average, then you get a discount. And if your losses are not as good as average, then there's a premium paid for that. This last year, for the current year, 18-19, you guys have been running at a discount of about 20%. This year your EMOD is 63, so your discount is now about almost 40% discount on your rate.
Wow.
So what I would tell you is that's congratulations to staff. That's everything that they put forward there. In the area here, you guys are very participatory. The staff does a great job. You guys host training classes here on a regular basis. I know you worked with Peter Kaczynski. He's local in the area here. As a matter of fact, I think he grew up in the Vista area. But you do such things as asbestos training. You had a human resource group meeting where you had local area human resource people here talking about different subjects, traffic control. So all in all, the staff is really moving forward in the programs. They take advantage. We have an online training program. You had 106 uses of that program in the last calendar year here. 162 courses are completed, 106 members doing it. So you use the online training effectively, you use on-site training, and you host for other districts to come in and do it. And we have a professional development program. You have 9 employees enrolled in that. You've even had a couple employees go through our leadership program. So, one employee go through that. So thank you for all that you do. Thank you for helping out with the other districts in the area here. And I'd like to tell you I can do this every year, but next year doesn't quite look as good right now. So workers' comp's looking good. Let's go that route. So if we could, I could answer any questions, but if we could get a picture with the group, that'd be great. And congratulations, Glenn and staff. You guys do a great job. You really do.
You can't use this picture anywhere. But it's nice to be taken.
Andy
can use it.
I will use it, absolutely.
Yeah, work it.
You're the only can, they kicked us off all of us. Yeah, Andy, let's get you over.
All right,
Yeah,
well, I'll
get
sit- put one on each side and I'll go in the middle. You guys are doing the work here.
You present.
You
You
hold.
present.
So you gotta tell us when we get the check,
Yeah, a little down on Andy's side, no, overdone, so. Take a look. Have everybody?
you're not helping.
Let me get one more. Got it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Andy, thank you very much.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
And
Thank you
good
very
job.
much.
Staff does a lot of work. Please see you again.
And you go through a lot of conferences over the course of the year, and you guys put on this best conference, education for board members.
All right, well, hopefully we can keep that up this year.
I slipped outside, I just didn't see that show.
I'm gonna sneak out now. I'm gonna try and make it to Helix, so thank you very much again. And what, maybe 20-minute ride?
Oh, sure, it should be.
Should be.
Oh, yeah.
Cross your fingers.
That won't get on the freeway. Workers' comp at this point.
I would like to say this is really impressive and amazing, so thank you to staff and deepest appreciation, but we want to see it again, of course. Maybe just 159,000 next time.
Keep getting the big discounts, it gets harder and harder.
Right.
I know. So don't
Thank you,
fall
Andy.
on your way out.
Yeah, I mentioned to Andy beforehand, I said, we just paying too much, and he goes, well, those are just really good years. You go 4 or 5 years back. And it's where the majority comes from. He says, yeah, he says, looking at next year doesn't look quite as good. So it's like, okay. Okay, the next presentation we have, is the introduction of Janelle Olson, our new senior accountant.
Oh.
You all seemed very impressed by her title just there. I'd like to introduce Janelle Olson. She joined the district actually last Monday, February 25th, as our new senior accountant, which was vacant due to her retirement in January. Janelle previously worked for the City of Highlands Finance Department for 10 years. In her free time, she enjoys watching sports, baking, yoga, and hanging out with her dog, Clara. This is
I missed where she was from before?
the City of Highland,
Highland, where's that at?
near Redlands.
Near Redlands?
Oh.
There? Yeah, I go up towards the mountains.
A quick question, what kind of dog is Clara?
She is a Chihuahua mix. She's about 4 pounds.
Oh, really?
Thing.
And I also heard that our staff tried to terrorize you and tell you that you'd have to do a dance and a song and
They
a
did.
dissertation.
They did.
Really nice, staff, really nice.
Yeah.
Now that I know you do that, we'll get you even. Well, there are the questions. Thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you.
Welcome to Health Board.
Thank you.
Before I moved down to San Marcos, I used to live in the city of Highland.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you really? And the other two?
Everybody's leaving then, huh?
All right. Consent calendar. Consent calendar, all items are going to be approved as one motion.
You missed, what about Chris Robinson, the second presentation?
Chris, I've been waiting for this presentation. I'm just trying to move it along. Sorry, Chris, I've really been waiting for your presentation.
Yeah, I appreciate that very much, President Martin. This is exciting. I know you all have seen videos that we produced that Alicia puts together. The landscape videos where we have all these customers and their landscaping and so forth, and the really fun day without water videos. But this is something General Manager Pruim and I talked about kind of focusing on the work that we do and what is it that we do, and really trying to make an effort to show customers exactly the work that we do, but also make it short enough that we don't lose them. You know, they've got to be crisp and short. And this is the first one in the series. I talked to Sean, and I think we're going to go out and pick up with tank cleaning in a couple weeks. They're doing some tank cleaning right now that you may have heard about. But this one is smoke testing.
Matthew Thompson, Vallecitos Water District, and I'm a wastewater collection worker. We do a lot of different kinds of programs for the environment and for the customer. One of the most beneficial ones is smoke testing. The reason Vallecitos Water District does smoke testing is to find openings in the system. If there's laterals that are open, or if there is yard drains that have been connected to the sewer system, the smoke would allow us to identify where those are and to either add a cap to the clean out or a way to close the yard drains. We don't want clean rainwater entering the sanitary sewer system because we don't want to treat clean water down at the treatment plant. We also don't want to have an open system in case of an emergency where liquids could exit the system. The way Vallecitos does the smoke testing is the personnel remove a manhole lid. They put a smoking ventilator on top of the manhole to push the smoke, which is more of a steam, through the sewer system, through the manholes. We're just checking for rooftops, making sure that the smoke is exiting through the vents where it's supposed to. At Vallecitos Water District, the personnel and the sewer crew trying to find inflow and infiltration. Inflow is when rainwater enters the sewer system that's not supposed to be there through manholes or cleanouts or yard drains. Infiltration is when groundwater is entering through maybe defects in a main line or in a lateral. We need to make sure the yard drain is draining to the creeks and the clean out for the sewer is going only to the sewer. Our ultimate goal is to make sure that the customer is happy and that there's no interrupted service. And if you see any of the wastewater crew out in the street, feel free to come talk to us and ask us what we're doing, and we'd love to share how we're helping the system flow.
Very nice.
One of the things that I really like about that is Alicia put in that layover of the actual residential sewer lateral, showing the clean out, showing the connection, showing how it goes, and that's just graphic work where she just put it together and just made it happen. It's something that didn't exist. She had to make it on her own.
Great job, Alicia.
Once again.
Very nice, once again. Are we gonna be seeing more of these?
We will. I think we'll probably come to you maybe once a month, maybe twice a month. We've got additional videos to show. Got a real nice one to show you on replacing out a pump at one of the lift stations. I think you guys would all appreciate and enjoy seeing that one. And then as soon as that tank one gets done, we'll bring the tank one in here.
Good. I have one question of Ed. Ed, when you go out to do a smoke crew, how many people are in a smoke crew when you go out there to do that?
Typically, it's about 5 or 6 people that are out there. A lot of it is footwork, so once they start injecting the smoke, they're walking up and down and really looking closely at the yards. You saw part of that video where there was smoke actually coming up out of the yard.
Right.
99% of the time what we find is a broken cleanout cap. So it's just a plastic cap that keeps everything from going into their lateral. It's where a plumber would come and run a rodder to clean out the sewer, so it's their lateral. As we find broken caps, we replace them for the customer at our cost, not theirs. It's just a courtesy. Instead of writing them something saying, hey, you need to fix this, and have a plumber come out and they got to spend $100 for a clean out cap that costs us $2, we just replace it for them.
Well, that's very nice.
Great. Thank you. Is it usual or unusual to find a problem?
The areas that we found problems, I think we've pretty much hit all of those. And then James and I have worked together on solutions. If it was the customers, then we talk to the customer about it, but sometimes we find our own problems in our system. So we've identified probably the worst. We're only doing usually 3 or 4 tests a year now, and we pick an area where we've had our sewer flow meters during rain events show us where, hey, this neighborhood, there might be some areas of concern, and then we go out and we test that area.
Great, thank you very much. Chris, is this going on San Marcos TV?
Yeah, in fact, I just talked to Sarah McDonald just today and asked to see if we could move it on to San Marcos TV, and she said, happy to help. So, we have a good relationship with San Marcos TV and City of San Marcos, and it'll be coming to a television near you soon.
And we have more to put on there.
Absolutely.
And do we give credit to our staff on it?
Absolutely.
We definitely need to.
Yeah.
Mr. Hernandez?
Yes, I want to find out, Alicia, how big is your film crew and your editing crew, or is this all you?
Well, Lisa and I work together also. It's usually a one-man team, but Lisa also helps me with some of the editing, and we go out and film together.
The reason I ask is my son has just been involved in this on the commercial side. And he's the director, the film guy, doing it all. And I mean, it's a yeoman's job. I mean, it's not just going out there and shooting a video. It's some serious work. So congratulations, you've done a marvelous job, all of these. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Well, I'd like to congratulate you too. You've really done a beautiful job and you've really progressed in it. It's impressive, and it's a one-woman job here, not a one-man. But you're welcome to bring a man on board if you feel you need that. I want to also thank you, Chris and Glenn. I think this is an excellent idea and a wonderful opportunity for our community and as a board member to see what's going on. And when I'm watching that, I notice how careful they were, so I know why we got a check back. And I also thought about the last recent breaks we've had and the rain and the recent one just last week. You are indeed an amazing organization. So thank you. Yes, thank you so much.
I just want to say, the videos wouldn't be as great as they are without the team involved and all the staff. So I wouldn't be able to do my job if they weren't so great as, being on camera and talking about their job. So kudos to the staff, and I want to thank the staff for helping me do my job. So.
They're very well spoken. I assumed you sent them to classes. Wow, we do have the best.
Well, it's just a love fest.
Hey, Chris, I look forward to seeing more of these, because I know you have a few that are already done. So I look forward to seeing more. I look forward to seeing them especially on San Marcos TV, where the public can enjoy them rather than just in-house. Great.
Before we go, do we have an opportunity to submit any one of these to anywhere to seek an award?
I think the plan for award submittals will be after we have a little stable to put together rather than just one.
Okay, great.
And if I can just add, so in response to Director Evans' comment, it was in conversations with President Martin that we actually put these together, so thank you, President Martin.
Excellent.
It's a great idea, and I think Chris's team and Alicia, they do an awesome job on these, and I'm always impressed with the field crews that aren't.
Oh, yeah.
This is not their wheelhouse to be in front of a camera, but they do a great job routinely of explaining what they do in a way that the public understands, so.
Great job.
Well, and they look real. Some of your senior management kind of hams it up a little.
Wow. Stop short of naming names.
No, I would never do that. I would never do that. Yeah, I feel for you. Thank you, Chris. All right, now's the time to move on to the consent calendar.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes. Thank you. Action items. Well, I don't know, here it says Jason, but usually it needs a GM. Approval of payment for repair of 16-foot fail-safe outfall sewer pipeline.
Inch.
I'm gonna defer to James and Jason.
16 inch?
Inch.
16-inch pipe.
I'll do 16 feet if you do 16 inches.
Yeah, so Director Evans mentioned spills, and we do occasionally have these, and I'm here to talk about the repair of one of the pipelines that did spill. So tonight I'm talking about the repair of the fail-safe outfall sewer pipeline, what we just call the fail-safe line. And this is a ductile iron pipe. It's about almost 7.5 miles, and it connects the treatment plant, Metal Arc, all the way to the Encina outfall in Carlsbad. So before I kind of get into the repair, I just wanted to back up and give you some illustrations on kind of what that pipeline does, where it goes. So I just put a couple of slides together and I'll go through this. The first is a slide you should remember from the last board meeting. We were talking about the improvements to the aeration tank, replacing those panels that were failing. So one of the things that we didn't highlight in that presentation was the pipeline that carries the secondary effluent to the outfall. So that is the fail-safe line. And so the secondary effluent, we have two choices. We can either send it to tertiary to make recycled water, or we can send it to Encina, or to the outfall pipeline, I'm sorry. We also have the flexibility operationally to send recycled water through the fail-safe line as well. And there's a host of reasons why we may want to do that. There may be some upsets in the plant. The water quality in the recycled water may not be good. There may be some maintenance going on. So anyways, that's just some of the operational flexibility that we have at the plant. So when we look at Meadowlark and in relation to the fail-safe line, there's really only two ways to get sewer flow, treated sewer flow, I should say, out of the plant. And that's to take the recycled water up to MAR, or take the effluent or recycled water to the outfall. And that is through this pipeline. So I can't underscore enough the importance of this pipeline to the district. So that line was installed in 1980. It was a joint effort between three agencies, ourselves, Buena Sanitation District, and the city of Carlsbad. And that line is broken up into 3 reaches, and each agency has a particular responsibility based on that reach. The San Marcos reach is 100% our responsibility. The Buena reach is a 50-50 split with us and Buena Sanitation District, and then the Carlsbad reach, Carlsbad has about 67% responsibility, and that's based on capacity. However, the operation and maintenance of the line falls on the responsibility of the district. So we did have a break, and that was in the Buena section of the reach. Back in December 20th of last year, over the holidays, Buena Sanitation responded to a sewer spill. They went out because they have a gravity line in that vicinity. They went out, determined that it wasn't their line, it was actually our line. That fail-safe is a pressurized system from Meadowlark to Encina. So they called us, we called the plant, we immediately shut those pumps off, and then responded with staff to clean up, notify the appropriate agencies, and find out what was going on. So one of the good things that happened is that at that time we were actually sending recycled water through the fail-safe line. So we calculated we lost about 110,000 gallons of recycled water. Never a good thing. However, because it's recycled water, there's no danger to the public. So the regulatory agencies did not require us to post any signs, do any samples, anything of that nature. So that's one, I guess, upside to the event. Once we knew that we had to keep that line shut off, that means, like I said, there's only 2 ways for flow to get out of the plant: this line or to MAR. So now operationally, Meadowlark has to switch 100% to recycled water and sending everything to the MAR reservoir. As we know, in winter, there's less demand for recycled water. We've had a number of storms hit us. So the function of this line is crucial in the winter time. So we knew we needed to get that repaired very quickly. So staff contacted Cass Arrieta to make the repair. Under normal circumstances, we would come to the board if there was anything over $50,000 in our purchasing policy. However, there is a caveat that the general manager can make emergency purchases when necessary, and this was certainly the case here. So the spill happened on the 20th. We met with Cass the day after Christmas on the 26th and discussed a scope, what we were going to do, and then on January 7th, they actually mobilized to begin the repair. I don't know, Diana, if you can put the aerial plat on to kind of show what that looks like. But I'll get out of my stuff.
It's actually, you have it on there.
Oh, do I have it here? I was going to show you what that looked like.
It's towards the bottom.
I don't see it. Oh, I'll be able to read that small writing. So here was the repair. It was right off of Palomar Airport Road on a private street called Palomar Oaks Way. This is kind of a commercial area. So there's a hotel there. It's got a lot of activity going on. So the repair involved excavating about 15 feet down, removing a 6-foot section of pipe. You can see it there in the corner. It's ductile iron. It's heavily corroded from the outside. Once we had that pipeline cut out, We got our crews in to camera up and downstream to kind of see what else was going on, what was the condition of that pipe. And then we made that repair with PVC, added some cathodic protection, backfilled it, and restored that site. It was kind of in a common area where there were sidewalks, drainage, grass, irrigation, all that. So we had to kind of make all those repairs to make the property owners happy. Upon reviewing the video, we did find an additional leak of groundwater coming into the pipe upstream. However, it wasn't detrimental to the function of the pipe, so we were able to make that repair, get that line back in service, and then we will be coming back to you through the budget process to look at a project to reassess the integrity of this line and make some additional repairs. But those will all be through the budget process. The repair took about 10 days, and operations staff and engineering staff were involved with the cameraing. Collections came out there and helped in some dewatering. We provided the materials to try to keep that cost down. We inspected it to make sure it was per our standards. And we also coordinated with the two property owners that this affected. The fiscal impact, we do have the bill from CAS. It's $55,527.71. We had some additional costs, about $2,800 to a private landscaper, the property owner's landscaper. It was just easier and cheaper to kind of work with them to put the sod back in. Material and staff is still being calculated, but we estimate that to be about $50,000 overall. The total bill will be about $108,000. Again, this will be split 50-50 with Buena Sanitation District. They've already been notified, and then they're asking for backup material, which we'll give them that documentation. The payment of this repair will be out of the sewer fund. So tonight, staff is asking the board to approve the invoice and pay Casa Arrieta the $55,527.71, and I can answer any questions you may have about the repair.
Mr. Hernandez?
When you cameraed the rest of the pipe up and downstream, you only found a small defect somewhere?
Yeah,
How did you repair that?
we didn't.
Oh.
It was far enough away, and we kind of evaluated and said, well, we could either take this crew and keep moving and make the repair, but because of the need to get that line back in service, we said, hey, we've noted it, we know where it is, let's get this line back in service, and we'll budget it later, and hopefully that's a little bit more fiscally.
I'm the look at this pipe in the lower right-hand corner. Why here, and why so devastating when upstream, obviously, it's not? Was there any reason that you could figure why this was in such bad shape?
Yeah, I can tell you that looking at the original plans, this was definitely probably originally a creek area. However, there's been fill and commercial development since then. Obviously, none of this was here back in 1980. So it's definitely in a sort of a groundwater-laden area. That visual inspection with the camera, the lining looks pretty good, but we don't really have a sense of what the outside of the pipe looks like. So it's just a visual inspection. We can't really tell. So the lining may look beautiful, and it did look pretty good. But
Hmm.
the outside, yeah, we just don't know.
Go back to your graphic, because it appears that this fail-safe line comes in after the Encina plant? Is that what I see on the graphic?
It does, yes. It does not go through Encina's treatment process.
So we've cleaned up this water such that we can put it into the ocean, everything is fine?
Correct.
Because in all my views of the Encina pipe, we have to get it inspected and all kinds of different things.
Yeah, we do sampling before it leaves our plant to make sure that it meets the parameters that Encina puts on us.
Right.
Yeah, so that sampling does happen.
So this connection is prior to the ocean entrance, must be, huh?
Yes, yeah, correct.
All right, thank you.
So this, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Oh, I was just wondering, since the line was originally installed in 1980, was it encased in a polyethylene encasement?
I do not believe they found any encasement. In fact, and this may have contributed to why the repair occurred here, but in this particular spot, they actually poured concrete directly on the pipe for about 30 feet, we think, which had a wire mesh, I think, on it. And that's because at that time it was very shallow. It was going through sort of a wash. So I'm sure they did that to help armor the pipe from erosion. And I think over time, of course, back then, that concrete just eats away the pipe. So that could be one of the reasons why it contributed to the failure here as well.
And Director Elithop, we've worked and replaced several sections of this pipe. We used to have a break kind of over off of Red Wing near Rancho Santa Fe Road almost yearly. So we basically rerouted that whole section of this pipe, and none of it, it's all direct buried ductile iron.
Okay, and then so on the cathodic protection installed on each side of the repair section, is that just a passive system with anodes?
Yeah, and it's kind of what we call hot spotting, if you're familiar with that term, and it's kind of wherever we make a repair to a ductile iron line, we just try to CAD weld some anodes on either side to just try to suck in that corrosion. There's no way to test it or check it, but it's
you don't put insulating flanges on either side?
No,
so it
there
just
was
kind of protects that particular area?
Yeah, it's just sort of a cheap way to hopefully help it. And
most of our ductile iron, especially on the residential side, there's no jumpers on it. So even if you were to do that, it wouldn't go past those first joints.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, all the water that goes into our fail-safe has gone through secondary?
Correct.
And is this with the parallel pipe someday that you have a dream of putting in?
No, so the parallel pipe, there's no plans to parallel this pipe. There are plans that we're going to be asking in the budget to...
That's this line.
Yeah, to basically do a condition assessment on this pipe and figure out what method, whether it's some type of liner or some type of replacement to actually repair it. And again, as Jason already stated, there's different sections of different ownership. So there's sections where it's 100% Vallecitos, there's sections that's 50-50, and there's also sections where it's mainly Carlsbad.
Okay, so no. How long was the fail-safe out? How many hours?
It was off for 10 days. Well, the repair took 10 days. It was off probably 17 days.
And explain to me, I think that's great. You guys got it done really quick. I'm very happy. Thank you very much, staff, for all concerned. Now, my question is this. It's $55,000 to CAS to go in, dig it up, fix it, bury it. $45,000 to staff. What did staff do?
Staff had the initial response when we sent our Vector trucks out there to respond and notify the agencies, and then we have to get staff out there. So I, myself, and others were out there discussing with staff, hey, this with CAS, this is the scope, this is what we're going to do. I had to coordinate with 2 property owners back and forth, make sure that they're happy. Then once the work starts, we have a full-time inspection. So there's an inspector out there full-time watching, making sure that they're meeting our standards and keeping the property owner happy. The work was impacting a parking lot. And then we also had operations staff come out when the pipe was cut. We had our camera truck out there, so there's a collections operator there, camera in the line. When they were doing the work, we also had one of our Vector trucks out there to help dewater the pipeline. So instead of them hiring and charging us for that, we allocated our staff to help out. We also delivered some material, again, to try to cut down the markup for them going and purchasing that material. We have that material in stock, so we delivered it. I think we also provided some backfill material from one of our sites. So that was a construction worker in a dump truck for half a day. So we were definitely involved, heavily involved in this project. And that's to try to get that bill that we're sending out to that contractor to get that bill down.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any other questions? Motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
2.2, CSDA call for nomination, seat B. Mr. Freeman.
Yeah, so CSDA, their board has an open seat, seat B, and they're looking for somebody from an independent special district that is interested in serving there. So they're accepting nominations. The deadline for nominations is April 17th of this year. And a resolution would be required, so if any of the board members is interested in being considered for nomination, we'd have to come back with a resolution of support.
Is anyone interested? Seeing none? We move on to the next item. Item 2.3, LAFCO election.
All right, so LAFCO has two openings. They're looking for a regular and alternate to be placed on their board. They have 5 people that are nominated, and I believe it's on page 36 of the board packet. For the regular seat, there's 5 candidates, and for the alternate, there's 3. The nominating committee for San Diego County met, and they made a recommendation for both the regular and the alternate seat, and that's highlighted on pages 36 and 37. So right now, the board as a member of LAFCO gets an opportunity to vote, so we're looking for the board to express their interest in their preferred candidate, 1 for a regular seat and 1 for an alternate seat.
Anyone on the board? Board's pleasure.
Go ahead, you go.
Director Lotharp?
Yeah, I know both Ed Sprague with Live in Hain and Aaron Lump with Rincon del Diablo Water District, and I would make the motion to support both of them.
Second?
I'll second that, but I'd like to also add, if you'll accept an amendment, that I do know Steve Castaneda, and you're looking for 2 votes, right, on the alternate, or is there only one?
No, we're just voting for one
No, I'll
alternate
pick
and one
Aaron
regular.
then, sorry, I misunderstood. Yes, great.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. All right. We're going to move on to a resolution concurring nomination of Paul Dury to the new Water Insurance Board. As Andy is, we're doing I call it offshore, but it's an off-site insurance at Aqua JPIA, and it's going to be done out of the state's escaping me as it has all day.
Utah.
Thank you, Utah. The Hamlet Corporation is going to be in Utah, and that's so they can invest their money differently without the restraints that California puts on it, and they're estimating they should do at least $500,000 a year better. So in order to do this, and it was voted on, I think, with 1 dissenting vote at the board, at the yearly meeting, so it's a go. Now it's a question of looking for people to represent them. The first one we have is Paul Dury, and I think we all know Paul. He's local. So I would request a motion on Paul. I'll make a motion that we nominate Paul Dury. We vote for Paul Dury.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The second one they're asking about is Andrew Morris. I don't know him, so I can't speak for him or against him. We don't have to vote for everybody just because they're up there. So it's a question what the board want to do.
I don't know the gentleman.
I don't know.
No one knows him, we shouldn't vote on him.
And I don't know them either. It's just kind of came through the mail that they reached out to surrounding agencies, seeing if they were willing to support. So I can't add anything.
Okay, so with that, we'll pass on that. Then we move on to, boy, that was very quickly, General Manager's Report.
All right. Just a few items. So the 2019 legislative session is in full swing. The deadline for the introduction of new bills was back on February of 22nd. And by that deadline, 2,576 new pieces of legislation were submitted. So that's a lot. Over the last 5 years, the average per year has been about 2,200. So our state legislature has really become efficient at introducing more bills into the system, which is great. And many of these bills do involve water and wastewater, so we're in the process of keeping involved with these pieces of legislation, and we'll inform the board and look for positions of support or oppose or develop letters as things come along. So, but almost 2,600 pieces of legislation, that's a lot. Second item, snowpack and water content continue to improve. So I think the last meeting or the meeting before I gave an update, and it's even better than it was then. As of yesterday, statewide, we're at about 150% of the snow water content for that date in the year, which is really good. So 150% statewide, but Central and Northern California are actually both above that, and that's where most of the snowpack is. They're at 156% and 153% respectively, so things are going well. Same thing with the reservoirs. They're all they're filling up. All of the state's major reservoirs are at or above historical averages for this time of year. The level of Lake Shasta, which doesn't always affect us directly, but that's the state's largest reservoir, it rose by 39 feet in just the month of February. That's about 16 inches a day it was rising during those rains, so that's a lot. Even Lake Oroville, which is kind of the laggard because of the water they had to release when they were doing the spillway repairs, that's at 93% of its historical average, so it's responded really well too. And the last thing, just the Colorado River Basin, it's doing really well with snowfall levels, but it's still suffering from the almost 2 decades of drought. So the Lake Mead and Lake Powell are both at about 40% of capacity. So that's all I have.
Great. District Legal Counsel, Jim.
Just a quick report. I just wanted to let you know, even though I'm conservative, I wanted to let you know the FPPC has prosecuted 3 agencies recently in California for violation of the mass mailing.
Oh, no.
Yes. And so they're on heightened alert for looking into this stuff. And so I dare not say I'm too conservative, but just thought I'd share that with the board. It was for publications such as a holiday postcard, quarterly newsletter, and the last one was their official newspaper where they published photos of electeds and mailed them out in excess of the 200 limit. So.
Thank you very much. I get it. All right, San Diego County Water Authority.
Well, the biggest news you've already heard, but I'll just state is that Gail Goldberg was confirmed by the Water Authority for the new metropolitan metropolitan delegate for them, and that went. It was a difficult thing, but it went through just fine. And the other thing, of course, is that Maureen is now gone officially, and Sandy Curl is in control at this time as acting. And they do plan to take their time in selecting a new director, or general manager. Next meeting is next week.
Encina Wastewater.
The Capital Committee approved contracts for the upgrade of the facility and also for technical support for the same.
Okay. Policy and Finance Committee, that would be me. And I'll bring it up on this. There's a workshop earlier this week that Jim Hernandez is now the El Presidente, and he did a wonderful job conducting the workshop. And at the workshop, we looked at, and just direction was given. There were no decisions made. Direction was given. That we're looking at, we're given all the options for CalPERS pension liability, how we were going to deal with that. And so direction was given for staff to come back with some of the things we recommended, but why bring them up? Number 2, should Encina move forward making a minor amendment to the joint powers agreement? Water reuse project next steps. They do use a water reuse project now. They have $50,000. They asked for another $50,000 to continue with their quest for looking at water reuse. And the last thing is the south parcel, which is near and dear to my heart, and I was so glad to see that almost the entire board, without exception, would prefer to lease it until needed, because it will be needed. So that was always my bugaboo about being on that committee, is I thought it was leaning the other way, but it's not. They're all in favor. I think I only heard one person that wanted to sell it. So that was EWA. I lost my papers to the next one. Who's the next?
Standing committee.
Standing committees. Go right ahead. Jim, do you have a standing?
No engineering committee help.
No?
Nope.
No committees? Finance I have one, and the minutes are in the board packet. Okay. I really did lose my place, but that's okay.
Director's reports.
Yeah. Director's report, we'll start with Jim. Thank you, Jim.
I didn't do anything this month.
Okay. We'll go to me. We had a couple of things. I'm gonna go back and see what we did at the end of February to make sure, since our last meeting. Since our last meeting, attended in Palm Springs, myself and Mike Sinella attended the Urban Water Institute Spring Water Conference in Palm Springs, which is a 3-day conference. And always very interesting, went over a lot of subjects, but one of the things that really caught my eye is they had a speaker from DC Wawa, DC Water and Sanitation, whatever. And he's the old, he was the GM. It was a very, very interesting speech. I've seen him before, years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, he was there on a different topic. But this year, his topic, which I thought was really good, was when he came on board there, they were in a very much disrepair. And the first thing that he did, and I it really rang true with me, was that we are really the biggest environmentalists in this town. And Vallecitos does not create any waste, but Vallecitos gets rid of all the waste that everybody makes. So I always think of the side of the Edco truck where it says, we'll take care of it. It's like, we do the same thing every single day, 7 days a week. You flush and don't worry about a thing. We got you handled. So I started looking at it that way. I go, you know what? We're the best sanitation that the city has, and surrounding areas. I have to say that. But that was a lot of takeaways came from it. But that was the number one takeaway that I got from it was, we need to start looking at ourselves as that. That's all I have.
Well, I attended the CASA and Aqua Washington DC conferences last week from the 25th through the 28th. I'll be fairly brief. There was a lot of interesting speakers and panel discussions in both the CASA and Aqua programs. And the theme is always for these two events is infrastructure funding and financing. And so as part of the CASA program, we split up into teams and met with staff, the staff of our congressmen that apply to us, and to promote CASA, Aqua, and local legislative priorities. And so we met with the staff of freshman Congressman Mike Levin of the 49th Congressional District, had a really good meeting with his staff, and Congressman Levin also came as one of our speakers during the program as well, and he's very supportive of infrastructure and is really big on sustainability, both in energy and the water sectors. We also did invite him to take a tour of the Encina treatment plant, which they're eager to do, so that was good. We also met with Congressman Duncan Hunter of the 50th Congressional District directly, and that's the first time in 4 years I've seen that guy. So I have a few theories as to why he's hanging out in his office these days, but anyway, I won't go into that too much. But, one thing I emphasized to the congressman was the need for a lot more federal funding help with major water recycling projects, which are eventually going to take the place of ocean discharges. It's just a matter of time before we're going to get legislated out of that business. So emphasize that to him. And so really the overall takeaways I got from the two conferences, reauthorization of the existing water and wastewater infrastructure programs is still a very high priority. There was a lot of talk also about development of new programs, and that has a lot of bipartisan support, interest and enthusiasm. The only caveat to that is it's so hard to do anything big in DC these days with all the divisiveness and kind of the broken government. So what everybody's kind of thinking is that instead of one huge $1 trillion infrastructure bill, there's probably a good chance that instead of that, there'll be maybe three or four smaller bills that address the various sectors from transportation through water and wastewater to some of the other sectors in infrastructure. So I gotta say, I'm not as optimistic as some people. Things are so broken back there that I don't know if anything's gonna get done in the next 2 years. So, anyway, I've got a lot of information I brought back on the specific legislative priorities that we push both through CASA and AQUA, if anyone's interested in that. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Director. Director Evans? Something I need to add to Encina, the new board members down there, they give a tour to, and although I took the tour 6 years ago with Director Evans, when I was first on this board, it was a completely different tour today than it was then because of the knowledge that I mean, the questions I could ask, the things they would explain, and I have to tell you that I think that their staff down there is almost as magnificent as ours. They do a really good job. Ours is a little bit better, but they do a really good job, and it was a great thing to open my eyes. And I mentioned it to Director Sinella because he's never taken it, and I'm going to find out when they do tours throughout the year. I found out, so I think he needs to go and see it because until you see that, you don't really have a really good grasp of what goes on other than flush the toilet. So great job down there. With that, I think Director's comments, future agenda items. Director Hernandez.
Yes, I'm wondering how we're coming along with our South Lake contract, and March is coming to an end for our quarterly update from the city.
Yeah, so I still need to coordinate with the city manager we touch base from time to time, but I need to reach out to him again and make sure that thing moves forward.
Okay, would you put a heavy thumb on that? Because come our first meeting in April, I will be expecting to hear something, or I'm going to make a motion that we do something more.
You got it.
And I have a question. I want to know what kind of problems they're moving into, or we've been having with them doing all the installations of our solar. Is that going smoothly?
You're talking on the property here?
On any of the properties, anywhere.
Well,
we had a solar program we've been working on.
Yeah, so we're in the middle of a district-wide solar study, but we also, I didn't know if you were referring to that or referring to the solar panels in the...
Well, the solar panels here, are they installed?
Yeah, so I wasn't going to share this because it may be a bit premature, but you asked. So SDG&E was in this Saturday, and they did the connection. They tied in our system to their system, and it should be energized tomorrow. So we think, fingers crossed, that we should start producing electrical energy from our solar panels starting tomorrow. And then probably a couple of weeks to a month after that, we'll have the whole system integrated. We'll have the display panel in the lobby to show how much we're producing, how much we're consuming. So we're making good progress.
Okay, and refresh my memory. We were looking at doing solar throughout and I thought we awarded a contract. Did we get results from that yet?
No, James is here. James can tell you.
When is that going to happen?
Yes, President Martin, so we have 3 sites identified. We're moving forward on 2 of the sites. As you may recall from the presentation when we had the consultant here, the 2 sites that we're moving forward is the large site, which is at Twin Oaks, which I believe is a 2-megawatt system, so fairly large, will take care of a significant amount of the electrical load that the district actually consumes. The other site is the actual NEM, or the net metering site, which is at LS1. Those are 2 sites. The 3rd site was Mar Reservoir floating, and we're looking still for like a partnership, and we still have to meet with Livenhain. But however, we didn't want to slow down the project for that. And at the last update, a few engineering committees ago, we brought forward some of that information and gave a presentation to the committee on it. One of the things that we did say is we have to now go out for environmental CEQA. So with the new rules and with the really the temporary impacts, we'll probably have a mitigating negative declaration that we'll be bringing back to the board. So we'll have to hire a consultant. We're in the process of hiring a consultant to do CEQA. The board should be seeing that. we're going to go, to try to save time, we're going through our as-needed services, because it's not a large contract, but it will be over $50,000. And then we'll have to do the CEQA process to do a mitigating negative declaration. Once we know the timing of that, we're going to parallel the actually going out and getting the solar project out to bid at the same time. So we're not going to wait till CEQA's done. We just have to make sure that we kind of know where the end of the CEQA is, so we don't overlap it too much.
What's your timeline to go out to an RFP?
The RFP's ready. We have to wait for CEQA. We're getting, we're getting scope and fees right now. So I was hoping to get it by the end of April at the earliest, or first board meeting in May for an award to the board for CEQA. And then I'll ask for a schedule and also report on the schedule, how long that would take.
Thank you very much. Anything else? No? We declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you very much, one and all.